Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into glycine. Now, you might know it as just one of those amino acids, the building blocks of protein.
Right.
But it turns out this little molecule does a whole lot more. We're talking sleep, maybe aging, just general well-being.
Exactly. It's much more than just muscle fuel.
So our mission today is to really explore what glycine can do based on our source text and figure out, well, what's solid science and what's still kind of emerging.
Precisely. People hear amino acid and think protein shakes. But glycine, it's got its own unique jobs in the body. It's actually quite fascinating.
Okay, let's dive in. What exactly is glycine, fundamental?
Well, okay, so it is one of the 21 proteinogenic amino acids. That just means our body uses it to build proteins, simple as that.
But it does more.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond protein building, it acts as a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger in the brain. And it's crucial for making other vital things, like collagen, for starters. That's the main protein in your skin, joints, all that connective tissue. Then there's hemoglobin for oxygen transport, creatine for muscle energy.
Wow, okay.
Hey, antioxidant glutathione, even white blood cells for your immune system. It's involved in a lot.
That's a huge list for one molecule, and it's the smallest one, right? I heard that somewhere.
You did. It is the smallest. Its side chain is just a single hydrogen atom. Super simple structure.
Does that simplicity matter? Does it make it special somehow?
It does, actually. It makes it the only amino acid that isn't chiral. Most have like a left-handed and a right-handed version. Glycine doesn't. It's symmetrical. And that flexibility helps it fit into tight spots in protein structures, places other bulkier amino acids might not.
Interesting. And the name? Something about it being sweet.
Yeah, that's right. Glycine comes from glycos, Greek for sweet. And it does have a mildly sweet taste. We'll probably touch on that again later when we talk about uses.
Got it. Now, essential versus non-essential amino acids. Where does glycine stand? I thought we made it ourselves.
Traditionally, yes, it was classed as non-essential because our bodies can synthesize it.
What?
But the thinking is shifting. We're realizing the amount we make might not always be, well, enough for optimal health, especially for all those jobs it does.
So we might need some from food, too.
Exactly. So now it's often called semi-essential. We make some, but getting some from our diet is probably beneficial, maybe even necessary sometimes.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's really get into what it does. You mentioned a few things already. Protein component.
Right. It makes up about 11% of all our body's protein, which is significant. But in collagen, it's a whopping 30%. Huge component there.
30%, okay.
And beyond protein structure, it's vital for making purines.
Purines. Those are part of DNA and RNA.
Exactly, the basic building blocks of our genetic material. So pretty fundamental stuff.
Definitely fundamental. What else is on the list?
Well, creatine production. It works with arginine and methionine to make creatine, which is that quick energy reserve in our muscles. Super important for bursts of activity.
Right, for athletes and, well, everyone, really.
Yep. Then there's glutathione synthesis. Glycine is one of the 3 amino acids needed to make glutathione.
And glutathione is that major antioxidant, right? Fights free radicals.
That's the one. Very important for protecting our cells from damage.
Yeah.
Glycine, cysteine, glutamic acid, they team up for that.
Okay, keep going.
It's also needed for heme production. Heme is the iron-containing part of hemoglobin in red blood cells, the part that actually carries the oxygen.
So essential for breathing, basically.
At a cellular level, yes. And we mentioned its brain role acting as a calming neurotransmitter. It binds to certain receptors like the glycine receptor and also NMDA receptors.
NMDA. Those are involved in learning and memory too, aren't they?
They are. Glycine kind of modulates their activity, contributing to its calming effect. And one more big one, bile acid synthesis.
Or digestion.
Exactly. Needed to make bile acids, which help us digest and absorb fats and fat-soluble vitamins.
It really gets around. What about blood sugar? I saw a mention of that.
Yes, it can actually be converted into glucose by the liver if needed, process called gluconeogenesis. So if your carb intake is low, glycine can help maintain blood sugar levels. And finally, it seems to have anti-inflammatory effects. It can inhibit some of those pro-inflammatory signals like TNF-alpha and interleukin-6.
Wow. Okay, that is a seriously impressive resume for one little amino acid. No wonder people are looking into its benefits. Let's talk applications, starting with sleep. That seems to be a big one.
It really is.
Yeah.
Given its calming effect on the brain, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And studies do back it up. Taking glycine before bed seems to improve how people feel about their sleep.
Subjective quality, yeah.
Right, and it reduces that daytime grogginess and sleepiness. Some studies even showed better performance on things like concentration tests the next day.
Any specifics on how it helps sleep?
Seems to help people fall asleep faster, shorten sleep onset time, and improve overall sleep efficiency, meaning more time actually asleep while in bed. The dose often studied is around 3 grams before hitting the pillow.
3 grams. Okay. And what about magnesium glycinate? People often mention that for sleep.
Good point. That's a form where magnesium is attached to glycine, so you're getting both. And the glycine part definitely contributes to the sleep benefits alongside the magnesium. A typical dose might give you around, say, 2.2 grams of glycine.
Makes sense. The text also brought up something I hadn't heard of, overactive bladder.
Yeah, that's a more niche area, but interesting. Some research suggests glycine might help.
How?
The thinking is it might act as an inhibitor in the spinal cord pathways that control the bladder. Studies showed it could potentially reduce how often people need to go at night, lessen that feeling of urgency, and maybe even increase bladder capacity.
What kind of dose was used there?
The study mentioned use 3 grams twice a day, so 6 grams total. Still preliminary, but promising for some people.
Okay. And high blood pressure, another potential benefit listed.
Yes, there's some evidence there too. Glycine might help lower both the top and bottom numbers, systolic and diastolic.
Why would it do that?
Couple of potential reasons. It fights oxidative stress, which could make more nitric oxide available. That's the molecule that helps blood vessels relax.
Ah, right.
It might also improve the actual elasticity of blood vessels, maybe by helping elastin synthesis, and could even have some regulatory effects within the brain's blood pressure control centers.
And they dose for that.
Similar to the bladder study, the one cited used 3 grams twice daily, showed a modest but potentially helpful reduction.
Okay, moving into some more serious conditions. Schizophrenia was mentioned. That sounds quite different.
It is. It relates back to those NMDA receptors in the brain we talked about. In schizophrenia, there's thought to be an underactivity of these receptors.
And glycine activates them.
It can help activate them, yes. So the idea is that giving glycine might compensate for that underactivity and improve symptoms. Some studies showed promise, but often at really high doses.
How high?
The text mentioned one study using up to 30 grams a day gradually increased. So that's a significant amount, likely needing medical supervision.
Definitely. What about stroke? You mentioned neuroprotective effects earlier.
Right. Glycine seems to help protect nerve cells from damage. In a stroke situation, it might reduce inflammation in the brain and possibly help nerve cells regenerate.
Is there evidence it helps stroke outcomes?
One study looked promising. They gave glycine to stroke patients within 6 hours of the event.
Quick intervention, then.
Yes, crucial. And they found that 1 gram daily seemed to be the most effective dose in that study for reducing mortality at 30 days, according to one measure, and also improved patients' ability to manage daily activities later on. Interestingly, they gave it under the tongue.
Sublingually. For faster absorption, maybe.
Probably, yeah. Bypasses digestion to some extent.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. Collagen. Huge topic. Skin health, joints. Glycine is key here, you said.
Absolutely fundamental. It's the most common amino acid, and collagen makes up nearly a third of it. And crucially, the text suggests glycine availability is often the limiting factor for how much collagen our body can actually produce.
Limiting factor, meaning we might not have enough glycine to make all the collagen we could.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Our typical intake plus what we make might be, say, 4.5 to 6 grams a day. But estimates suggest optimal collagen synthesis might need more, like 16 grams total. Quite a gap.
16 grams. Wow, so supplementing could help.
It seems plausible. Supplementing with glycine can stimulate collagen production, according to the source.
So should someone take glycine directly? Or is a collagen supplement and not the collagen has glycine in it, right?
It does. A standard 10-gram scoop of collagen peptides might give you around 3 grams of glycine,
Yeah.
so you are getting some.
But
if your goal is really boosting glycine levels specifically for collagen synthesis, taking, say, 10 grams of pure glycine gives you way more of that key ingredient than the collagen supplement alone.
right, more bang for your buck in terms of pure glycine.
Exactly. Though it's fair to say, we have lots of human studies showing benefits from collagen supplements themselves for skin, joints, etc. The specific studies on just glycine for boosting collagen in humans, those are still lagging behind a bit.
Okay, good distinction. More research needed on the glycine-only route for collagen. What about metabolic issues? Type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome? There's a link?
Apparently so. Studies have found that people with these conditions often have lower blood levels of glycine, even if they're eating similar amounts.
That's odd. Why?
Not entirely clear, but it suggests maybe their bodies aren't handling glycine regulation properly. Animal studies hint that glycine supplementation might help improve insulin secretion and sensitivity.
But should people with diabetes start taking it?
The text advises caution here. It emphasizes that lifestyle changes, exercise, weight loss are known to improve the body's own glycine regulation, and those should be the priority. Plus, remember how glycine can be turned into glucose. There's a slight concern it could potentially worsen blood sugar control in some diabetics.
Yeah.
So definitely something to discuss with a doctor, not just jump into.
Right. Caution advised for diabetics. And the last couple of areas, liver damage and anti-aging.
Yeah, interesting stuff, mainly from animal studies so far. For liver, glycine showed protective effects against both fatty liver from alcohol and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
How did it help?
It seemed to encourage the breakdown of fat in the liver and also reduced inflammation and oxidative stress, key drivers of liver damage.
And the anti-aging angle, that always gets attention.
It does. Again, animal studies, worms, rats, mice, show that diets high in glycine could actually extend lifespan.
Really? By how much? And how?
The text notes they use significant increases in glycine. The proposed mechanisms are varied. Maybe it helps break down methionine, another amino acid that, in excess, is linked to aging. Plus, its anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effects, and potentially improving how mitochondria, our cellular powerhouses, function. Lots of promising ideas there.
Definitely intriguing, even if it's early days for human data. Okay, so if people are interested, where do we get glycine naturally?
Well, since it was considered non-essential, there's no official daily requirement set. But we typically get about 1.5 to 3 grams a day from protein-rich foods.
Which foods are good sources?
The text lists quite a few. Protein powders often top the list. Rice, soy, pea protein powders can have around 3,400 to 4,200 milligrams per 100 grams.
Wow, concentrated. What about whole foods?
Hemp seeds are great, over 2,000 milligrams. Peanuts, almonds are good too, around 1,300 to 1,600 milligrams. Even oatmeal has a decent amount, like 850 milligrams per 100 grams.
So it is present in a normal diet. What's the advantage of taking it as a supplement then?
Well, a supplement gives you free glycine, not bound up in protein, so it gets absorbed faster and can reach higher concentrations in your blood more quickly. That might be better for specific acute effects, like the sleep benefit.
Right, timing matters for sleep.
Exactly. And also, if you're aiming for those higher doses, suggest in some studies like the 6 grams for blood pressure or even more, getting that purely from food would be pretty challenging. Supplementation just makes those doses practical.
What are typical supplement doses?
Generally range from 1 gram up to maybe 10 grams a day. A lot of the benefits, like for sleep, seem to cluster around that 3 to 5 gram mark.
How easy is it to take? Does it taste bad?
Actually, no. As we said, it's mildly sweet, and it dissolves really easily in water, so it's super versatile.
How do people usually take it?
Mix it in anything, really. Water, tea, coffee, milk, plant milks, shakes, smoothies. You can stir it into yogurt or oatmeal. Some people even add it to lemon water or soups. You can even bake with it, apparently.
Bake with it as a sugar substitute.
Sort of. Because it's sweet, you can use it to replace some sugar. It's heat stable. But it's maybe only about as sweet as sugar, perhaps less, and doesn't provide the same bulk or browning. So the advice is maybe replace only up to 30% of the sugar in a recipe.
Ah, okay. To avoid messing up the texture and also not to take in massive amounts accidentally.
Precisely. You wouldn't want to use it cup for cup like sugar.
Good point. What about timing? You mentioned before bed for sleep. Any other timing tips?
For sleep, yeah, about 30 to 60 minutes before bed seems best. For other uses, it's flexible. You could take it during the day. Some people feel it helps concentration if taken in the morning. Or you could add it to a post-workout shake for muscle recovery. With meals, between meals seems pretty forgiving.
Okay. Now the important part. Safety. Any side effects we need to worry about?
Generally, it seems very well tolerated, especially in those common 1 to 10 gram daily doses. Side effects are rare.
But if they happen.
Very high doses, we're talking maybe over 20 or 30 grams, or at 0.8 genes per kilo body weight figure might cause some mild stomach issues. Bloating, maybe nausea, diarrhea. Some mention dizziness at very high intake, too.
So standard advice. Start low, see how you feel.
Absolutely. Start with a lower dose, like 1 to 3 grams, and see how your body handles it before increasing, if you plan to.
Are there groups who should be extra cautious?
Yes. Pregnant and breastfeeding women and children. The usual advice is caution with supplements, and the text suggests limiting intake to maybe 3 grams daily for them. And as we discussed, People with diabetes really should be cautious and talk to their doctor first, especially about using it as a sweetener in large amounts.
Right. Always best to check with the doctor if you have underlying conditions or are unsure.
Definitely.
And if someone decides they want to try a glycine supplement, what should they look for?
Pretty straightforward. Look for pure glycine powder or capsules without a lot of extra fillers or additives. Most are vegan. The source text mentions it can be made synthetically or via fermentation. Apparently, the final molecule is identical either way.
Okay. So wrapping this up, it sounds like glycine is, well, way more interesting than just being a protein building block.
It really is. It's involved in so many core processes, and the potential benefits for things like sleep, maybe heart health, brain function, even potentially aging. It's quite compelling.
But, and it's an important but, a lot of this is still emerging research, especially in humans for some of these areas, right?
Absolutely. Very promising, warrants attention, but it's not a miracle cure-all. More human studies are definitely needed for confirmation on several fronts. It's one piece of the health puzzle, potentially.
So for you listening, the takeaway is maybe look into glycine-rich foods, or perhaps consider supplementation if it aligns with your goals, but do your homework, and maybe have a chat with your doctor.
Exactly. And it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? Given how fundamental glycine is, and the research keeps uncovering new roles, what else might this simple molecule be doing that we just haven't figured out yet? What surprises are still waiting?
A great question to ponder. It seems there's still much to learn.